G'day, hey, hi, and welcome. Alrighty. Okay. Here's what I did so far. Okay, so woke up, check. Got out of bed, check. Stoked up the fire, check. Up there, not down here. Came down here because, man, that plow guy came by. I guess he must have been 5 o'clock in the morning there. You should see the snow piles. You should see the snow piles in front of the house. Holy jeez. There's a lot of freaking snow. Holy jeez. But what I did last night, guys, I finished chapter 8. I got two more chapters to go. And then my manuscript will be written. Now, my goal was to have it finished for Valentine's Day or around that. Right now, we're Thursday. Valentine's Day is on Sunday from the making of this video, which would make it about 45, 46 days to write my first manuscript. And last night, it was a really good, okay, the cheat code for me is that I already know where the story's going because I already did the audio version of it. Kind of like think about it like an audiobook with no book. Like I've already kind of did that. So, and that story was, like done the best just off the top of my head. So there's a lot of stuff in there that I, had to kind of rewrite and, you know, get rid of the redundancies and stuff like that and come up with new stuff. But last night I came up with some really good stuff and I hope it reads really, really well. But two more. So, like if I really push, I could probably get a chapter done in, 3 nights. Like whatever. It depends, right? So tonight I'll put a push on it for chapter 9. And then maybe by Saturday night I should have chapter 9 done. And then maybe it might be the 17th or 18th by the time I have chapter 10 done. Doesn't really matter as long as it's done in February, right? And then the real work begins. At that point, I got to figure out how I'm going to rewrite everything to digital because my laptop is not my laptop's the keyboards are all screwed up and whatever, and I don't have the proper programs, right? So I'm gonna talk to my aunt at the library and see if because I know that they loan out like VR goggles and stuff. I'm gonna ask them, do they loan out laptops? And if they does the laptops have like word processing on it of some sort? Anything will do, at this point, and that would work until I can, because I don't want to sit on the story for 5 years waiting to get it, typed up. It'll be a while before I'm still waiting for my next hydro bill. Everybody I talked to that's gotten their hydro bill this year has just been like, oh my god, it's just like through the roof, just because of the extra cold and stuff like that. Like it's been a winter, like it's been a real winter. So not the most snow I've ever seen or anything like that, but it's more of a classic winter. So it's a little colder. It's a lot more snow. Yes, I know out in BC they got no snow. They never do. They never did. It's always been that way. Just now they call it climate change, right? That's the only difference. Speaking of BC, yeah, horrible thing happened last night. That one's gonna be fun. That one's gonna be fun to see where all the drama of that's gonna go. Let's divide this populace even more now, right? So anyway, I'll cover it as I cover it. But anyway, yeah. So it's really horrible what happened there. But yeah. So chapter 8 is done, and the next two chapters. I haven't listened to the story in 3 years, right? So I remember bits and pieces of what I came up with, but it's kind of neat how I'm discovering. Oh, what would be good here is if I could change the story to this, and then it comes along to that point, and it's like, oh, I already did it. So it's like at least I know I'm on track with the story, where it's like this is where I would have taken it anyway, and so it does hold similar to the original, but it's just there's so much more in it. And, you know, things have been changed around, reworded, is all that kind of stuff, right? So because there's how it sounds when you're talking, and then there's how it sounds when it reads, right? And how it's two different things. It's two different things. But I'll be proud of myself just finishing the manuscript. Because that means with the manuscript done, then it's a matter of typing it out for the second draft, really cleaning it up, getting the spelling checks, get all the redundancies. I know there's a few little errors of technical things. You know, like like where you have like you describe a person this way at this part of the book, and then you describe them that way. Slightly different at the end of the book. Like or in the center of the book or something like that, and then you catch it after, right? So of all the 17 books I'm currently reading, I'm going to put a push on sort of Kagan today, but I want to do some recording today too. The kicker here is I'm going to have to reread my manuscript like in short amount of time. Like I'll consider January because I'm writing it in February as read because I'm writing it. So like the story's like fresh in my head, but it's like not enough to catch the mistakes and stuff like that. Now I'm not going to rehand write everything again, but what I'm going to do is maybe rewrite sections and supplement the pages, right? So that when I do, until I can get it on, like I'll do as much editing as I can now, right? And I'm over 400 and some odd pages. I'm at 407 or 408 pages right now. So I'm probably going to be somewhere around the 500 page mark with this story, depending on how much extra I add to it. And there's some little nuggets that I'm putting in there that won't mean anything now, but if you go back and like I'm setting up other books from this book, but not as a series. I don't want it as a series. I like the idea of a standalone. I don't mind if a book is this thick. I'd love to be able to write a novel with like 250,000 words. You know what I mean? Like just to say, and something really good, and just to say, hey, look, you buy this book, you're gonna get it all in one series. Like it's not gonna be a series. It's just gonna be all one standalone book. And there's like you take like Game of Thrones with George R. R. Martin. Like he must be so sick of that fucking story. And that's what I get all the authors that do that, but it seems like all the authors plateau when they start a series. It's like, okay, they get a series and it's a hit, okay, so they want to stick with it, right? But then they're just locked into that all the time. They can't move on to other stories. And I think that's kind of, well, they can, but it's just like it gets, it's what do you call it, the Steve Austin effect or the Adam West effect. Batman, where after he was cast as Batman, he couldn't get any other acting jobs because it's just, oh yeah, you're Batman. You know what I mean? That does happen, and it's called like typecast or whatever. Well, you can get locked into your series as well to the point where it's just like anything else you write, nobody else reads. It's like, oh no, we just want more of this, right? Kind of like Jamie Lane with the Cherry Pie song. The most popular song that Warrant ever wrote. Uh, and what made that song popular was the cute girl in it. I think her name was Bobby Brown. There's a black guy, Bobby Brown, but there was her Bobby Brown. She was on MTV for a bit. And trust me, every teenage boy is seeing her coming out, on the roller skates in those Daisy Dukes there, and the red shirt. Yeah. You watched that video many times. Yeah, she was pretty. And anyway, yeah, he was like, yeah, I hated that song. Like it's everybody. Oh, you're the cherry pie guy. Like it's like I wrote all these other great songs, and everybody remembers me for the slop, right? So it's like, but it is what it is. I would just take it as okay. Well, yeah, like I get it. Musicians get annoyed with playing their old songs over and over again. And it's like when I saw Iron Maiden. I remember Bruce Dickinson. Okay, here's how the night's gonna go. We're gonna play a couple of classics, and we're gonna play a lot of new stuff. You know what I mean? And everybody wants to hear the classics and stuff like that. But you got to put your foot down somewhere, and I get that. And some people don't like that, but I understand why they do it. It's because it's like you got to consider, you know, that they want to do other stuff too. And for me, I'm not one of those people that is, this started, I guess, in 2019. 2019, okay, I was still listening to the same heavy metal I was listening to in 1982. You know what I mean? And I'm just like my buddy Paul and I, because he's got that Sirius satellite or whatever in the truck, and he's got like the Metallica channel, right? And it's just like Metallica, and the stuff they love, and it's just the same over and over again, right? And I'm like, I'm trying to get them into newer stuff. I'm like, dude, you got to check out Elvadian Angkor. Like you got to check out Nightwish. You got to check out, and that stuff's getting old. Like Nightwish, they started, their band started about a year after my last band, Syndicate, right? And I still wonder to this day, had we stuck together, would we have been the next Nightwish? You know what I mean? Like the North American version of it. That would have been so cool, but it didn't happen. I just became a poor man, washed up rocker, and that was it. So now I'm going to be a washed up writer. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, well, like I say, you just go with the strides, right? Do what you can. Do what you can, but give it your best, And I think this story, like 2060 Dystopia, is going to be. I don't think it's going to be the best book in the world, but I think it's one of those books. If I can get the proper promotion of it, people are going to find the story unique. Because I can't think of a story like it. Again, maybe I got author's blindness or whatever. Okay, my story is like the unique story, and it's like, oh no, there's like 100 books. It's this book. It's this book. It's this book. It's all this book rewritten, right? And this is what happens to a lot of the fantasy genres, which this is kind of more of like a cyberpunk genre than a fantasy. It would be fiction fantasy, but cyberpunk element because it's futuristic, right? It's 2060, and the thing is there's another book called 2060, a dystopian novel. Mine's 2060 Dystopia. I was like, oh shit, that was closed. I should have checked that out before. But that was the whole premise of the segments of the videos. When Matt, there, East Coast Canadian, asked me, he said, Reg, can you do a video on what it'd be like if you were like woke up out of a coma in 2060 and what the world would be like? And I'm like, okay, I'll make a story out of it instead. You know what I mean? Because I thought it was a great idea, right? And that was 3 years ago on my BitChute. You can go watch it. And that's the other thing too is like, okay, well, how am I going to promote this thing? Well, one way I could promote it is audiobook, right? Ebook is another way for sure, obviously. But I want somebody to have a novel. I'm even considering not doing a digital version of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like no, yeah, I'd lose out on sales. I get that, but I want you to buy the novel. Like, I want you to have. There's something about having the paperback and just not, But obviously, I'm going to release it to digital, like at least ebook. Audiobook. Well, we'll see. Because audiobooks don't really do as well as a lot of people think. They do well, but they don't do as well as you think. I looked at the stats. It's for authors that are successful. They tend to do way more paperbacks than anything, right? The audiobooks are kind of hit and miss. So, like, if you can't sell your paperback, you probably won't get rid of your audiobook. No matter how, it's not about the price. Sometimes it's just about promotion. It seems like that's 90% of it. But I know, like, that if I could get this thing written, my goal is to write it as smooth as the Sword of Kagan, so that when you're reading it, and I'm sure once I start reading it out loud, I'm going to bring a stack of papers like this down here. You're going to laugh at it. I already got some of it here. And I'm going to start reading it out loud to myself and, rewriting parts of it, doing the corrections. So when I do type it out, at least correction number 2 is going to be, because it's going to take me a long time. It's going to take me at least another month and a half to rewrite it, for the second manuscript, right? That's going to take time. And then, of course, making corrections, it might even take 2 or 3 months. My goal is to get the book out by the end of the year. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to rush it. I want to give you guys something good. Quality over quantity, right? My goal is to write 3 books. So I got this one written predominantly, except for the last 2 chapters. So I'll start on the other 2 books, writing a little bit. Just kind of take a break from the 2060 story. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to, again, be hopefully in the springtime, because you got to understand, like, the debt I got to rack up this year coming for tools and stuff. Okay, so we're talking a backpack blower. There's $1,000. I'll make that back fairly fast, but it's still that hit this year. Possibly another super chainsaw, which is going to be really expensive. Obviously, I got to get a vehicle, but with the hydro being what it is, that might be delayed. I do have a chunk set aside for a vehicle. Still haven't found anything worthy yet. I look every night, guys, and it's just it'll show up when it shows up. But not only that, like it's a bad time of the year to have to buy a vehicle when you have no place to park it. Although my neighbor Robert there, he opened up. My uncle opened up the laneway for me just to get in. Robert across the road did it for me too, so I'm gonna have to go over and thank him. I helped him with a fall a tree last year and stuff like that, and that was near a shed and stuff like that. And it's neighborly things to do. And then he sees me working out here every now and then. Like right now, no, but I do have garbage number 15 being loaded up. I got it into the wood shed there. Uh, so hopefully that'll go out this week, and then this week or next week. I can't remember. The recycling is pretty much. I think I got pretty much most of the recycling. I'm sure there's still some. In the spring I'll find some stuff, but like I really really think I got all the recycling on this property. Like that's a lot, guys. It's so much. But anyway, long story short, yeah, the goal is to get another laptop, but something good. Like like it has to do the job, right? Like for me, that's always been what it's about. So I'm gonna need obviously, like I'd like to get that voice dictate thing. There's one called like Dragon or something like that. They say that one's really good because even though it's tricky to use, you just gotta basically read your manuscript and then go over it that way. So, look, to publish a book, the average person is spending between $3,000 and $6,000 to publish a book, right? If they outsource just about everything, and I understand some of that outsourcing, like for example, if you have to pay $500 for somebody to basically format your book for print, maybe that's $500 well spent for somebody who's got lots of experience and knows how to do it right. You can tell them what you want, work with them, obviously. The professional edit you're looking at, I've seen is it's like $1,500 to $2,000 to $3,000 depending on who you get. Like that's the big cost right there is the professional edit. So I'm like, maybe the first book, every author says the same thing: get your professional edit, right? Because no matter how much you use spell check and so, there's always something that you miss. And I'm like, well, if you read your book once a month before you publish it, let's say you read it the whole year, you read it 12 times, you're probably going to catch spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes each time. But then again, if you're not a grammar Nazi, you're probably going to miss a lot of grammar problems. So beta readers are your friend, right? So the idea might be is release the audio the manuscript, okay, to a handful of people because it's going to cost. I can imagine to print double sided, 500 pages, even if I use my own printer. Number one, it's going to take forever. Number two, it's probably going to take probably a couple $100 per manuscript. I would imagine, like like if it's 10 cents a sheet, whatever. If you buy the paper yourself and the ink yourself, maybe you could do it for like $150 to print a manuscript. So it depends. I just don't know. Maybe it costs you like $80. Fine. You know, uh, but you can only print out so many of those, right? And you're only going to print those out for the people that are going to seriously help you. So maybe if you get as many beta readers, if you get like everybody goes usually with three good beta readers. If you get one really good beta reader, the problem is you either have to pay the person, you have to give them an incentive to do it, right? And the problem is that if you're low on budget, then they're like, okay, well, I'll beta read yours if you beta read mine, and I'm like, I don't have time to do that. Like, I would like to do that, but I don't really have time to do that. That's the problem, like it's to commit. So I'd rather, at that point, you're just like, okay, well, you have to pay somebody to do it then. So there is ways to do it. There is stages to do it. So the question is, if you got a book that's probably going to sell less than 100 copies, um, you don't want to be spending $3,000 to $5,000 or $3,000 to $6,000 publishing it, right? You don't want to lose money on that. So if you forego the professional edit and do it yourself, and the book starts to sell, and you start getting feedback that yeah, it's a good book, but there's so many typos and grammar and blah blah blah. and then you can say, okay, well, you can do a version two later on. You know, like once if you can sell enough of the book to get the professional edit in, you know, and do like version two, that might be a smarter way to go because then you could save a lot of, but maybe you spend like say under $1,000 to publish your book. If you do the artwork yourself, which I'm probably going to do the artwork myself and just find a way to get it, you know, on there, which I have an idea that's going to work pretty much. It's low tech, works no matter what. But it's just a matter of can I do the artwork nice enough. I've already got the draft of how I want it done. It's just a matter of getting the details. So you're going to see something really, really cool and unique. It's not going to be AI. It's not going to be that kind of book. It's going to be a little bit more hands-on art, right? And I know probably a lot of publishers say, "Oh, don't do that because you know it's not going to look professional." Blah blah blah. If it's good, it's good. It doesn't matter what method you use, right? So my method is going to be pretty simple, low tech. You know, like draw the picture the way I want it. Take a actual digital photo of it, touch it up. You know, in like one of my, you know, what I have, like you know, in the photo imaging thing. You know, just like Adobe or whatever. Uh, Touch it up in that. Once it's good, fit it to a cover. Bob's your uncle. You know, like it's like you know, it's like again, I'll save hundreds of dollars right there. You know, and again, my art, like my drawing and stuff like that, is actually pretty good. It's just it takes me a while to get back into it. When I, you know, and I'm not looking for like hyper realistic, you know, drawings, right? So, and I'm gonna toy with a few different covers. I'm gonna go from the simple to the more complicated. But we'll see. You know, like um, I have an image in my head that I think would just be a great cover for like it's what I would want to look at. You know what I mean? It's what I would think is a great cover. Maybe everybody else would hate it. Who knows, right? Uh, but it is what it is, and you know, like you can you know you can use photographs. You could use all kinds of stuff. Like I think photographs would be you know like everybody's like oh we got to do this digital thing. Well, you know like you can go take pictures of shit too. You know. You know, I'm just saying, like you know, like you don't have to overthink it. You know what I mean? But what you know, like how do you set up something? Uh, you know, like that's you know, like what you know, you got to think 2060, right? Like what would be really cool? Well, not to give away too much, but VR goggles are a big part of the. There's a lot of mentions of VR goggles in my novel, and one of the things about that is that could be a part of the cover, right? It would be the easiest thing to do. I could even do like you know just make some sort of weird, you know, futuristic looking cyber thing and take a picture of it, put a title above it. One thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to put my author's name on the front of the book. I want the title and only the title on the front of the book. That's it. Um, the idea is to have people like I mean, if you want to keep it really easy and low tech, kind of works no matter what. You just do straight title. That's it, right? 2060 dystopia. There you go, done. And you can do it in whatever nice lettering you want. The problem is it's not a flashy cover, so people aren't going to impulse buy it because ooh, look at the shiny object. And most book sales, um, like like more than 50% of book sales are sold because of the nice cover now. So the whole don't judge a book by its cover, well, that's out the window. People like shiny, colorful, something that's going to look good on a shelf. They like that, right? So that's what sells the book. It's what, and look, I'm guilty. Half those books there, well, not half. I'd say 90% of those books there, I only grab them because the covers look cool. You know, I didn't even read what they're about. It's like, okay, grab the cover, it looks cool. Okay, read a quick title. Okay, you know, it might be in my wheelhouse, right? But every one of those covers is something that there's a lot to it. Like there's something eye catching, right? So this is the way I'm thinking. Like I'm gonna have to do something eye catching, and it has to be in such a manner that I can pull it off cheaply, right? So there's a lot of free tools out there. Problem is, again, I need a computer that can do it. So I'm going to see if I can actually loan like a computer from a laptop from the library. If not this one, the one out in Kaz. And if I can do that, sure. You'd say, well, why not type it out on the typewriter? Well, the thing with the typewriter is the typewriter is more of a nostalgia thing. It's the same problem I have uh, with the pen and pencil and paper, right? is it's not digital, right? So I wrote this whole first thing, by hand, right, just to get the story down. Now, will I write with pencil and paper going forward until I can get like a way to type? Yes. The pencil and paper actually flow very quickly. My hands don't cramp or anything like that. I play. Like, my hands are always loose and limber because I play, musical instruments and stuff like that. I don't death grip my pencils. you know, my biggest problem with my pencils is I don't have a good pencil sharpener, so all my pencils are like always partially dull. So it's like some of the words are a little bit. I might have to decipher a few words and figure out what I wrote. But I am looking very forward to finishing the manuscript and going to the next phase because that next phase is just like once it's in digital form at that point, it's like, hey, this is happening, like that's really cool. If money was no object, yes, I would just pay people to do all the hard heavy lifting for me. The professional edit, whatever. The professional edit doesn't mean they do it all for you. They're just going to show you what you fucked up. That's it, right? I think if you at least read your book, edit, read your book, edit, read your book, edit, and read the whole way through. Like just read the whole way through. So I'm gonna have to read probably commit to at least 20 to 30 pages a day. And if I have to drop these books, like okay, well I'll finish those books. But let's say I drop, reading those books. Yeah, okay. So let's say you could read your book once to twice a month, right? Okay, for the next year. Okay, you read it 24 times. Yeah, you'd be sick of the book, but you would catch 99.9% of all the mistakes in it. So even if the grammar wasn't perfect, even if this wasn't perfect, that wasn't perfect, the story by itself would be great, and that might be enough. And if you could save on the professional edit, that would be great for your first book. That way, you can at least publish something for maybe a few $100s rather than I'd like to be able to publish this book for under $1,000. Ideally under 500, but I don't think I'll be able to do it that cheap if I do what I want to do with it. Like I want to give you the cheapest paperback novel possible, just to keep it as cheap as possible. Then I want to give you a hardcover, medium quality hardcover, and then I want to give you like, okay, here's the book that's it's got artworks in it and stuff like that, and spare no expense and stuff like that. But like it'll be done in stages, right? So like if the paperback sells well enough that and the hardcovers sell well enough, well then I'll give you the deluxe book. You know what I mean? Version of it. So my goal is more to get the book out there with the best I can do with the with what I got. Like I've always got to work with what I got. And if I sell 5 copies, I sell 5 copies. You know what I mean? And whatever. Yes, I would love it if the book could sell 300 million like that book over there. That would be freaking phenomenal. And you never know. You never know what's going to catch on. I don't anticipate the book's going to do like extraordinary well, but what I do anticipate is that the book is probably going to get a lot of bad reviews on the content, not the story, but the content, because it's a critique of woke, right? So obviously left wing people, which is the majority of your book talkers and stuff like that, if they get a hold of this book, they're going to hate it, right? Or they're going to just yell every buzzword, racist, bigot, blah blah blah, misogynist. Yeah, they're going to yell all that stuff out, but everybody else is going to love it. So it'll be what'll probably sell the book is people reviewing the book saying, does this book deserve the hate? And I'm hoping for that review. I'm really hoping for that review, and I'm telling you why. Because it usually, controversy sells, right? And most of the time, most people are, they're not looking at it from the lens of these morally, hyper morality, progressive people, right? That They're the morality police, and most people will say, "Well, this thing's great." You know? I know most guys are going to love the story. I'm sure there's going to be like I'm talking moderate people, not hardcore right wing or hardcore left wing. I did backwards here, but anyway, you get the idea. Like the hardcore Christian types probably will enjoy it a little bit, but they tend to only read like Christian fiction or whatever. So they're probably it won't be religious enough for them. It won't be right wing enough for them. Moderate right wingers, they'll probably enjoy it to some degree, depending on how they take the book. If they take the book as woke, then they won't enjoy it. But if they take the book as a critique of woke, they're going to love it, right? Moderate left will probably like it. They'll probably if they take the book as just the story for what it is, they might like it a lot. If they take the critiques, they might say, "Well, it's not my cup of tea, but it wasn't that bad," right? It's hard to say. And then, of course, the radical left will just hate it because it was written by a straight white male. They don't even have to read it. You know what I mean? Like it's going to get hate just for that, right? So that's just it seems what the book. It's everywhere in society, right? So it's like, who are we kidding here? I don't want to make it political, but everything you say hello to somebody and it's a microaggression. Like it's everything's political in society right now. So you just got to kind of go with that and just put it out there anyway. And who cares what they say? It's like either read it, enjoy it, don't enjoy it, whatever. But the way I look at it, if my book is going to be, I don't want to call it controversial because to me it's not controversial. It might be sensitive. I'll put it in a sensitive critique of woke in the future. After what happened the other night over there in BC from the making of this video, it's kind of like I've already mentioned that stuff in the book. Like that scenario, I've already mentioned it in the book. You know what I mean? Like it's like this is what happened in the 2020s and stuff like that from a guy in 2060 telling you, yeah, well, this was going on before I went into my coma. This is how bad it was, and then when I wake up, this was the end result of it, right? And so but I think some of the female characters are going to really like some of my female characters. There's one, she's kind of your typical, and I did it on purpose. It's just you don't see her layers or her dimensions until later on. She's the typical boss babe, boss bitch type thing, and whatever on purpose, right? But once you start to get into who she is and her layers, like you end up getting very concerned for her. There's another character where she's just complete comic relief most of the time, but at first it's just shallow comic relief. But then you start to realize how vital she is to the story, and she's going to be a very special character going forward in the future because of whatever. And then I'll give you one: the Cuddle Princess is in there, and everybody's going to love the Cuddle Princess and her teddy. But what's she doing there? That's going to be the question. What is she doing there? Yeah. The other two girls, one you're gonna like her. She's not gonna be super prominent in a lot of ways, uh, but in other ways, yeah. And then the other girl, well, I'll just tell you, they're sisters. The second sister, there's going to be like if you're going to be a dad, okay, you're going to dream that this scenario happens to you. It's going to be like a really horrible scenario, but you're going to be like you're just going to find it so endearing. I wrote it last night. And I'm just like, there's no dad that's going to like read this and go, "Oh, this sucks." They'll be like, "Oh, that's my girl. You go, girl." It takes place during a very, very violent confrontation, and it's just like, that's my girl. That's my girl, right? And yeah, so family people, I think that would read this are going to see some of the underlying message of Family Nation Future in it, which is a more right hand path approach to things. And the futurists that will read it, they're going to be, yeah, I want that. That's what I want. Yeah, I want that. The naturalists are going to be like, God help us if we ever go that far. Because there is a lot of moral questions about some of the things, transhumanism and technology and stuff like that going forward. Like, where's the line? Like everybody wants to cheat death. I get that, right? And nobody gets to cheat death in this book, but you get the idea of all the stuff that was done to do that, right? And it's like, but what does it cost you? That's the whole book, is what is it going to cost you? You can do this, you can do that, but what is it going to cost you, right? So it does it does raise a lot of issues of stuff I've talked about over the years, geopolitically and stuff like that, and culturally and all that. But it's also done. It's just, can I get it to translate well enough? So I'm gonna have to read it, like I say, a whole gob of times. As soon as I'm done reading it, my goal, like I say, was to finish the book by February 14th, which is like a couple of days away. I'm not probably not going to, but I can imagine between the 17th and the 20th, I'll have it done. So writing the first manuscript under 2 months is pretty good. Now it's the refining of it, right? So if it cuts down the pages, if it comes out as a novelette or novella, whichever you want to use, I've heard two, but most people say novella, but I say novelette. Uh, but if it comes out that, I'll be happy with that. If it comes out the full, like right now, I'm ballparking low on my word count, because I have no way to really know. But I counted a couple of pages, and it averaged between 180 and 200 words per page written on the line paper. The unlined paper is probably more. So I'm going with over 400 pages, 180 pages, 180 words per page minimum, which is probably ballparking low. So I'm probably at what's called the 64,000 words, which would put me in the novel category. But refined, I might lose 9,000 words. Who knows? Or maybe 3,000. I might gain 9,000 words. Saying, oh well, hey, this was good. I'll take this out, but I'll put this in instead, right? At some point, like with this book, I'm not gonna keep going. Oh well, I gotta make it better. I gotta make it. I am going to stick with this as close to the original story as possible, just so I can finish the book. Right? I don't want it to be a 10-year project. I've been working on this book forever. I just want to, hey, guys, just so you know, I just put out a book. What? We didn't know you were working on a book. Yeah. Like, I've only told a couple of people that I've been working on a book, right? And the thing is that it's not one of those things that I'm looking at it as it's got to be perfect, perfect, perfect for the first batch, because it's something that you can go back and redo, right? Like, that's the nice thing about digital print, is you can you can keep the manuscript on hand, and after a year, like, you can go and re-edit the book, you know. Like I say, edit one, maybe edit two. You go and you spend $6,000 perfecting the book. A lot of authors do this, where it's like, okay, they got the book published and it took off. My big, where my money's got to be spent the most, okay, is in the professional edit. That part everybody agrees on. The next part is really going to be in the formatting. That I'm probably just going to pay somebody to do it once I come to okay, this is ready to go. And then the third is basically promotion. How do you promote this thing? Free is always the best, but it's not always the most effective, and it's not always the quickest, right? The book talkers, their recommendations don't give you as much sales as you would think, but they can probably, it doesn't hurt, but it's mainly word of mouth, So one strategy, this is going to sound funny, that sells the most amount of books, okay, is giving them out for free. Yeah, that's giving free books. That's now the problem with giving free books is that costs a shit ton of money, and it's a hit and miss. You're firing that torpedo. If it hits, you win big. If it misses, you just spent a shit ton of money on something that no one's going to find. So word of mouth is the number one way. So the best way to do it It's not like, okay, promote your book once and that's it. It has to be an ongoing thing. That's what all the indie authors are saying. It's like, look, you do round one of here's my book, blah, 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 and you plug it. So, like, for example, you see a lot of YouTubers where they don't want to do ads. So instead, what they do is they get a sponsor, right? And tell me if that doesn't sound annoying, right? It does. It's like halfway through the video, oh, by the way, check out my products, right? You could do that, or you could promote your own book. Say, look, just a little side thing. I got to fund my project here. Every video, here you go. So if I get like say 80 to 100 views, or even 10 views per video, like I mean, back in the day, I was getting like hundreds of views, or like 14, 15,000 views a night, 20,000 views a night on my old Not Reg Me channel. Once it started to take off, and of course, it got censored and banned and all that stuff. Of course it would, right? But let's say I only get 10 views a night, but every 100 views, I sell a book. Well, that means every 10 days I sell a book, roughly. Or, you know what I mean? So then when does it snowball? Like that will, it won't make me rich, but it's like, okay, um, it does that. Then maybe you sell a book every 10 views, but you start getting more and more views. So every topic you cover, doesn't matter what it is, you're always plugging your books. Um, that's one way I plan on. That's like method number one. And if that starts working, I'll just stick with that. And if it doesn't work, well, I like the research I'm doing on how to do a book and stuff like that, like the different levels of editing. Like the line editing, where you go line by line. That's god awful expensive. But like, there's some people that have spent like $20,000 to do their book, but these are people that they're going to make that back in like week three. You know what I mean? Most books, though, don't sell more than 100 copies. And I bet you most books don't sell more than 3 or 4 copies, right? So I'm going with the idea is, how much do I want to spend on 3 or 4 books? You know what I mean? That's because you have to go with the idea of that. Okay, you want to succeed as much as possible. You're going to do everything you can, but you have to accept that there could be there's millions of authors out there. Now, I know a lot of people think it's a competition, but it's not. It's like music. When it's like people look at the charts and they're like, well, this band's better than that band because they're higher on the charts. But it doesn't mean that the band, like, let's say you make it into the top 100 bands in the world. Okay, top 100. I know. Think about that. Okay, and you're on the most popular countdown in on the planet, and you make it into the top 100. How many billions of dollars have you made? You know what I mean? Like, you are going to be so fucking successful if you make it in the top 14,000 bands. You know what I mean? There's millions and millions and millions of bands. You make it in the top 1 million bands, you're probably making a good living off of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's you got to look at it like that. Like, if you're look, that one book there, the guy has sold 300 million copies. Okay, even if you made 1 cent off of each copy, let alone like $4 or $5 off of each copy. Like, wow, that guy, that guy's not hurting for cash. You know what I'm saying? Um, and maybe that's the only book he's did that was good. But I doubt that. But the other thing people are always saying too is that like, it's not like, you might only write one book, but you're going to be promoting it forever. And then maybe one day it starts to self promote because enough people read it and the buzzwords get out. The buzz gets out there. Because there's a lot of people that like on the Goodreads and Book Talk and stuff like that, they'll stay away from it just because it's like everything on there is like woke. It's like it's another woke romantasy. So it's like people don't, like they'll literally turn away from that. So where do they go? Well, they have to find books somewhere else, right? So there's no one strategy that's like even J.K. Rowling, as successful as she is, she's like, yeah, there's no one right way to do this. Like, it's like you're never perfect. Even with that success level, she's telling you, like, yeah, there's still going to be problems. So you got to take it in stride. And the way I look at it, it's the same way I look at my music. If it makes it popular, I'd be super happy, but I'll do it regardless because I enjoy doing it. It's just with the book, this is the first time I'm trying it. I'm not overwhelmed by it by any stretch of the imagination, just because I'm doing enough research of other people saying, well, this is what I got overwhelmed by, what I wasn't expecting, blah, blah, blah. And just go person, like, just don't follow just one person. Like, listen to the guys, listen to the girls, listen to them all. Because there was one girl, she was like, oh, yeah, like, this idea that you have to, like, you have to do it this way or what else. She goes, knowing what I know now after my seventh book, it's like, here's what I got it down to. It's like, oh, okay, this works really well for me. The big one, though, that big expense is the professional edit. That's, I think, is, and I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. Obviously, I would do it, but like, I don't really want a story. What do you call it? Like, because the way I'm looking at it is like, you can get these what do you call it, they basically, it's like story edit. Basically, they edit in such a way that it's like they try to enhance your story, right? Which is fine and dandy and all, but the problem with that, and I'm not against critique or constructivism, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that once you get that type of an edit, now you're working with somebody else's ideas, and you're at the point where it's like, now it's like almost like a ghostwriter. You know what I mean? So the line edit, yes. The grammar, yes. The spelling, yes. The critique of like run-on sentences and stuff like that. Sure, yeah, okay. Like, critique it, but let me do the fixing. Let me do the decision of whether, okay, yeah, this is good. Like, well, instead of this, you could say this, and like, story developers is one of them. Like, a story developer, I think, is a great idea, if you don't care about having somebody else's ideas developing your story. You know what I mean? Because they're gonna do it from the point of view that they like. Can you imagine a woke person like, again? You guys haven't read the book yet, so but can you imagine a woke person uh, doing re-editing my book? They take everything out of it. They take all the good stuff out of it. No, I'm going to leave in the toxic masculinity. I'm going to leave in all that good stuff because it's good. It's there for a reason. It's like Trope City, sure, but the thing is it serves a purpose. And the thing is the purpose that it serves is, how people have to survive in this hyper crazy world. This cyber futuristic world that is basically predicated on the disease of woke. You know what I mean? That is, festered for like 30 some odd years, like 37 year. Like, this is a 37-year period we're talking about, right? Yeah, so, like, yeah, I definitely don't want anybody altering my story, saying, well, this might be offensive, so you got to take it. Well, if it's offensive, I'm definitely leaving it in, because that's the point of it. You know what I mean? That's the point of it. Like, it's not, the book isn't designed to be offensive for the sake of being defensive. It's a critique. It's a critique of where we're going to end up if we keep being politically correct. It's going to be a critique of where we're going to end up if we don't, kind of back off the insanity of it, right? And again, some of the stuff I'm going to mention in the book is already played out, in real life. Like, I wrote I didn't wrote, but I came up with a story in 2023, and some of the stuff I was talking about back then has already come to pass, right? You guys follow my channel, you know how I am at predicting things, right? Usually 85% accurate. Why? Because I don't do it from a political correct or a biased lens. I look at it for what it is. Everybody has their biases, sure, self included. But in general, I tend to look at it as like, well, even if I don't like the result of it, this is what's going to happen. And if you're just intellectually honest, you can, you can critique your own positions. You know what I mean? And I think that's the smartest thing to do anyway, because it keeps you the most sane rather than trying to double down on that ideology. Like, that's just my take. But anyway, yeah. So that's where I'm at. I know I went on a little bit long on something, but it's something I'm excited about. Like, I know I'm probably driving you guys nuts on it, but at least you get a variety of stuff on this channel. So, like, Like this is what happens when you're locked away for the winter. I mean, like there's 4 feet of snow in front of the door there, so you know what I mean. Like I ain't gonna be doing any extra videos outside or whatever. Like yeah, things are gonna be just kind of like sitting here, just kind of waiting out the winter. So this is what you get. Um, but yeah, I am very excited about it. It was like it was a little after 12 midnight when I finished 8, and just that last line. Oh, the main heroiness. Uh, she's I don't want to talk too much about her because she's like she's not the main focal of the story, but she's a big part of it, obviously. Yeah, the matriarch. She's kind of like she's a big part of the story. But was her line last night was like, uh, you know, well, it goes like this. Again, a little spoiler, and I'm gonna give you some little spoilers too, because it's like, I ask, like, what are you gonna do with that? Uh, and it's like she holds up the head. I got to take it back to the base. Me, why? I'm gonna make them talk. Yeah. That's where we're going with this. So yeah, so you've got a severed head in the matriarch's head, but why? What happened there? Yeah, it has a lot to do with the dad-daughter bonding moment in an extremely violent situation. we'll just leave it at that. But it's like the book is just completely bizarre on some of the stuff. There's one character in the book named Mikey. I think everybody in the world is going to love the story of Mikey because Mikey is just not a character you would expect, and it's to me it's really funny. It's really really funny. Um, there's some extra like it's just ideas that came to me. It's like this book is really maturing into like some really like crazy stuff too, like multiple perspectives of things, like for example, nanobots going on strike. Yeah, you get their perspective as well. It's like a nanobot perspective, and it's like nanobot number blah 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 blah. Like there's just like 35 numbers or whatever, and a couple of letters and dashes. Yeah, when he tells you why he's going on strike, you're gonna laugh. Like again, this book is really creative. It's just really, I think it's bringing out the best storytelling I've ever done, for sure. It's like if it bombs, it's like okay, you won't be able to say I wasn't creative and I didn't try it. Like the avenues I took this down, like everything's in there. Everything is in there. It's just, but that's the point of it. You know what I mean? Is that the chaos of what's now is only going to maximize down the line. So there's going to be just so much to talk about that it's going to basically make people's heads spin, right? So anyway, I'm gonna leave that about that. So when I get chapter 9 done and chapter 10 done, I'll bring the manuscript down. I might give you some teasers. I know they say to step away from the book for like once you're done your manuscript, step away for like a couple of weeks or whatever, and then go at it. Like with a fresh mind and stuff like that. But I think I spent long enough time on it that if I go back to the beginning of the book again and start reading and correcting and doing whatever, I think that'll be probably fine. But my goal is to read the book probably once through. If I can get it completely read once through by the end of February, that would basically be technically like having 2 readings on the book already. And obviously, I'll start doing corrections and changing this, changing that, whatever. But it's just I'd like to be able to do it digitally so I can go back and just keep correcting, and then read the story again. Once I get through the second manuscript, I'm not going to print it out. I'm just going to keep going over it. But I'll take my time with it. So if it takes me 6 months to go over the manuscript a million times and just keep reading it, catching stuff. Like again, the first beta reader you should have is yourself, right? Because you're going to catch ideas faster than anybody else. It's just the stuff that you're like kind of like author blind to. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that. That might be a thing too. That's where your beta readers and editors and stuff like that are going to help you out. Now, beta readers, if you can find them for free, say, hey, look, here's the thing. If you beta read my book, when it's done, I'll send you a free book. How about that? You know what I mean? Some people will go for it. And then let's say I can, it costs me, it would cost me a lot of money. But let's say I can get the books for, like say 10 beta readers, okay? 10 beta readers, okay, and they did a good job, whatever, and they get the book. That's not going to cost me that much, but it's money well spent, I think. You know, so there's that. Maybe I give them the manuscript first. The ones I can do it off an e-reader, then what I'll do is I'd release the digital version to them, right, for free, and they read it. They send it back. Like I would have things for them to send back, and if they could make like page notes of what they found on this page, this page, this page. If they'd be willing to do that, right? I mean, that's a lot to ask for somebody just for a free book. Like beta readers aren't going to correct all your problems. They're not going to do your grammar and your spelling and all that, but they might be able to help you out a little bit on that. So like the digital copies, if I can, let's say the digital copies are like $2 a piece. Okay, I'll take I'll give out 50 copies with the caveat that you have to critique the book and you have to give some feedback, and if you find stuff to let me know as much as you can. I don't expect them to edit the entire book, but if they find spelling mistakes, just give me the page and the word. I'll find it, right? That kind of stuff. But that said, like programs like Grammarly and stuff like that. I also want programs that I don't have to pay a subscription for. This whole subscription thing, I fucking hate the idea of that. Like it's just no. I just want to buy a program, even if it's slightly outdated, and just type the damn thing out. You know what I mean? And the options there for upgrades, fine, but I don't want that. I just want one and done. You know what I mean? I don't want to be paying so much a month for the rest of my life. I just want one and done. Right? But anyway, we'll see. But that stuff I'm still researching, like what to use. Like I do like the idea of the voice writing because narrative writing, voice writing. There's a few names for it, but the thing is that I could just sit here in this chair, just read my manuscript and the punctuation and everything like that, go over it and then go back over it, clean it up and do it again, narrate it 12 times in the year, refine the book 12 times. That might be good enough for the first batch, right? Or first self. It's going to be self print anyway, so it's like or print on demand. I'm not going to do like printing like 500 copies and try to see if I could sell them. No way, Jose. No, the idea is to basically print on demand. I think is the smartest way to go for most people. And the other option I know is traditional publishing, right? Should I try that? Depends on what's like traditional publishing. The nice thing is they take everything like that. But it's like, okay, well now you have to write 5 books in 4 years, and you have to no. It's like, okay, either you want to publish it or you don't, and whatever. But who knows, right? Who knows? I'm not opposed to the idea of people making my life easier, but I want full control over the story, and I don't think I could be this story could be professionally published because it's too politically correct out there. You know what I mean? Like everybody's left wing, so it's like they take one look at it and say, no, that's too offensive. It's like, okay, there you go. So we'll see. Anyway, there we go.